Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks very much to Global Off for putting this event on, and to Walt Wines and Ambassador Hall for joining us. My name is John Jackson. I'm an attorney at Jackson Walker. I do mostly intellectual property litigation and some data privacy work as well. I'm known as Attorney Somm on social media because when I'm not practicing law, I'm pursuing my wine passion. And that pursuit involves a number of activities. I've been a freelance journalist whose articles have appeared in Forbes and Texas Lawyer. In addition, I'm pursuing my sommelier certification. I'm currently about 2/3 of the way done with my level 4 diploma. The only thing higher is a Master of Wine, and there's only about 400 of those in the world. In addition, I run an Instagram page and just started a YouTube channel. And you can find me there on Attorney Somm on Instagram, one word, and then on YouTube it's Attorney Somm, 2 words. And so if you're interested in wine, it would be great if you could follow and subscribe to me on those places. It's my distinct pleasure today to be joined by Ambassador Hall from Walt Wines. Ambassador Hall, like many of us, started out as an attorney. She was an assistant city attorney for the city of Berkeley. She then went in-house with Safeway stores and became a partner in Hall Financial Group. She's done extensive work for nonprofit organizations over the years and even co-founded the North Texas Food Bank, which is a great organization that we know so well in Dallas. From 1997 to 2001, she was the United States Ambassador to Austria. And shortly thereafter, along with her husband Craig, they founded Hall Winery, which brings us to today. So Ambassador Hall, thanks so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much, John. I love having been invited, and I'm just really looking forward to tasting wines. And I'll tell you, everybody who's watching, to be able to taste wines with the Somm is not something that I get to do every day. Most of us in business don't get to do every day, so it's going to be really fun. We've got a wonderful lineup of wines, and I think we'll have some really fun conversation. So I'm looking forward.
Program. And everyone, so you know, we'll be getting to the tasting a little bit later, but by all means, please start tasting now. You certainly don't need to wait until then. My joke would be a lot funnier if you start now. So we encourage you to do that. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of where we're headed, we'll start out by talking about some current events in wine country. Certainly, we've all seen the news in terms of the fires, and there's also been harvest going on, of course. This is harvest time. Then Ambassador Hall will talk about how she got into the wine business, and then go through the 3 different brands that we'll be talking about today. Then we'll get into the virtual tasting, and then finally learn about some opportunities that you have with Hall in terms of participation in the wine club and so forth, and also some tourism opportunities. And so we should have a pretty good presentation today, and I'm very excited about it. So Ambassador Hall, if you could start out maybe talking to us about the fires that we've heard so much about lately, and what the latest is on that front.
Thanks, John. The fires have subsided, thankfully. The fire we had this year was the worst fire to ever hit the wine country. This is unfortunately a record that we seem to continue to break each year. 2017, we had the worst fire on record. 2018, we beat that record and set a new one, and now we have done it again in 2020. So it's a real concern and something very much on the minds of all of us out in the wine country, Sonoma and in Napa Valley, and I operate in both valleys because we grow different varietals in those different valleys. So we're getting by. I think it certainly has had a chilling effect on business. The folks love to come to the wine country, and it's a wonderful place to visit. But when you have fires and the smoke is, the air quality is not good, it has a chilling effect. So anyway, but we're back to normal in the sense that we are open. All of us in the valley are open. I have 5 tasting rooms. spread throughout Sonoma and Napa. All 5 are open. We are tasting not only outside, but with social distancing and using proper conditions, we are also tasting inside. So I'd say the valley is getting back up. And during the fires, I mean, Mother Nature doesn't wait. You have a fire, but you still have to bring the grapes in. And so all of us were working all the way through the disaster, actually. But now I think we really have it in our rear view mirror. I mean, it's not, you never really have the fires out of view until we get into winter, but I am very hopeful that it's all past now.
Yep, that's good. And how did it impact your harvest? Did you have any of the vineyards that were damaged by the smoke, or were you?
Yes, we did. And by the way, I am going to have a little sip of the first one I'll be talking about. And if you are at a wine tasting, I highly encourage you to start sipping on whatever you're going to go first. And if you're going to taste the Baca Rosé, I would start with that. And if you're starting with the white, as John is, and go into the Chardonnay. But so cheers, John.
Cheers.
So, yeah, and to you all. So the COVID was what you asked me about COVID, right?
About the harvest and the
harvest.
You lost
the harvest was, yes, it was definitely impacted. We will end up with a crop of our wines this year will be at about 60% of what they normally would have been. It's from a business perspective, it's a very tough hit. But at the same time, when you have friends who lost their wineries and people who lost their homes, we feel very, very lucky. And actually, not only did all of our facilities end up safe and secure, but none of our employees had any loss to any of their homes. So we feel very blessed. But one of the good and the bad part about the vineyards in wine country is that vineyards are actually a fire break. So vineyards do not burn. But they will, sort of singe along the edges. So when the fire comes right up to the edge of a vineyard, it impacts. Sometimes it just totally burns the grapes are just totally ruined, and sometimes you can't tell. Smoke taint is a very tricky thing. We learned this in 2017. So there's a molecular component to smoke taint, of course, and we test for that regularly. And what we find is, right now our wines are looking great. Luckily, we brought our grapes in a little earlier. And on top of that, we source for our Cabernet, for example, we source from 13 of the 16 appellations. These are vineyards that we either own or we partner with. So we can let go some of the vineyards that are way up at the north end of Napa Valley, Calistoga, which is right near where the glass fire began. And then we concentrate on vineyards that are a little farther south down in the valley. So we will produce wines. The wines in the tanks are tasting delicious. So we'll see. We're very hopeful that we will make it. Well, we will make it through one way or the other. But I expect that some of the wines will be lost, not only from the vineyards that we did not pick, because we felt that smoke taint there's just too much smoke in it to even consider it. And of the grapes that we now have in tank and going through the fermentation process, I expect that we'll lose some of those as well. So
inventories will be down a little bit, but other than that, it was a pretty strong harvest.
Oh, it was a great harvest. I mean, everything was really wonderful. I mean, and the thing is, we also have experience. So 2017, I think, hit a lot of us by surprise. I mean, I had one of my interns on our winemaking team. We basically just, in 2017, put her solely, she worked online researching with the vineyards and wineries in Australia, which has had more experience with fires and vineyards than any place in the world. And so we learned a lot there about how to address fire issues ahead of time. We made some changes in the way we bring in the grapes. We bought a generator. One thing you do not want to do is go through the harvest and have no power. And many of my colleagues in Napa Valley, in particular, totally lost power, so their whole crop would be lost. Mm. So we schooled up, and I think it's going to serve us well. And I think what will happen after this 2020 fire is that other wineries are going to just, some wineries I actually think will go under and will not make it, which is very sad. But those that do, I think, will prepare better for the future.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it seems like it does happen almost every year, which is very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, it is, and it's just, it's these erratic conditions. You know, you have, I think we've done a lot of studying about climate change and the impact on the grapes up in Sonoma and Napa, which is where most of our grapes come from. We do make a Pinot Noir from up in Oregon, and we make some Pinots from down by Santa Barbara. But most of our research is up in Napa and Sonoma. For those of you who don't know about it, that's just a little bit north of San Francisco. And it is, we think that we think that the grapes will be okay. We think the vineyards will stay. I think that we'll be able to still make some really wonderful wines, not only this year, but continue to in the years ahead.
Excellent. That's great. And of course, the other current event that we haven't talked about much yet, we've touched on it a little bit, but is the COVID-related changes to your business.
Right.
We were talking a little bit beforehand, and this is something that I obtained for you the last time that we met. And
that's so funny. That was a long time ago, John.
It was. It's the 2006 Napa Valley Cab from Hall.
Yeah.
So, that must have been probably 2008 or 2009 when you were.
Yeah, it was 2009. Yeah. That's really funny. No, and as you said, or you were getting there anyway. I know where you're going on this. All those sort of in-person wine dinners that used to take so much of my time and the winemakers' time have really gone by the side, and we really have not been able to do that recently. And what's happened is that we all, and I'm sure you as practicing lawyers too, Zoom has just taken over our lives, and thank heavens, because it really has given us a way to maintain some sense of normalcy not only in our businesses, but also, I think, in our personal lives. I am reconnecting with college roommates now that I never did before. So, there are some wonderful things about, I think, this COVID, there will be some lemonade that comes out of this lemon. I know it. But anyway, in our business, one of the things I think we have seen is that although people, you don't go to restaurants. Basically, my business in the wholesale business was about 90% of our wholesale business was done through restaurants, and a little bit was done off premise in some of the retailers, Costco and in Dallas, Pogo's and various Seagulls, and can't remember whoever else. But anyway, a lot of wine shops, but they took a very small part of it. So that when the restaurants closed, a huge part of our business went away. And then also for people like me, where of our total production, about I'd say 70 to 80% of our sales are direct to consumer. So they are through the wine club. I hope we'll talk about the wine club. I hope we will talk about the wine club a little later, because most of the wines that we make never see a wholesale, never see a restaurant, and never see a wholesale channel. But they come out through membership on the wine clubs, and where the first allocations go to the wine club, and then if we have anything left over, we will send it out. Otherwise, so of the direct to consumer, your front door to meeting with your consumer is visits to the wineries. It has become now less that, because we were closed for 3 months, totally closed. We couldn't see any visitors. We were still making wine, as I mentioned earlier, but bringing in the harvest, but we were not greeting any guests. And so that took a toll as well. And then what we found is that people have started to buy more wine online, and that's been, I think, that's a trend that we already saw happening. It just was exacerbated by by COVID, because I think people are more willing to buy things online. I've always felt that wine was a natural product. If you can buy tennis shoes online, you can certainly buy a product like wine that you can't smell it, you can't taste it. There's nothing to know about it in advance of your purchase decision. So other than research you would do or listen to people like John sommeliers whose opinion you value. But wine is really a product that's made to be sold online, and I think one of the things we've seen as a result of COVID is that more and more people are feeling comfortable doing just that.
And so you've actually been doing a lot more of the Facebook Lives as well. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have. That has been so much fun. So we have been we've been having these wonderful Insta Lives and Facebook Live wine tastings, and they're wine tastings, and we talk a bit about the wine, but not as seriously. For example, John, when you talk about your wines, I mean, you're talking very specifically in a very sophisticated way about the wines. For us, we are more Wine 101, and my guests are people who are not necessarily wine experts. In the main, they are not wine experts. So Julia Dreyfus has come on, and Martin Short, and yesterday I had one with Beth Bears, who was Two Broke Girls, and now is in the neighborhood, and just anyway, I've got Cecily Strong from SNL coming on in a couple of weeks. I mean, people who enjoy wine, and these are all, by the way, this is an aspect of COVID that I didn't expect. We don't pay anybody to come on; they just like our wine, and but they're sort of stuck like we all are, working from home, want to have some connection, enjoy having some wine and discussing it. So it's been a really lovely sort of marriage of this sort of need to and desire to taste wine. I consider it a need, but you might consider it a desire. But anyway, just the enjoyment of tasting wine, but doing it with some other folks, and to do it with people maybe that you can ask questions of. So since you brought that up, I'll do a quick plug on it. Come to we have 3 brands that we'll talk about in a minute, but I have Hall Wines and Walt Wines and Baca Wines. All 3 of them have Instagram and Facebook accounts, and you come on, if you follow us on any of those, then you'll start to get the notices of who's coming on. And I honestly can't think of who's coming on next week, or I would sure say it. But anyway, it's been really fun.
And you do those oftentimes on Wednesdays, is that right?
I do it. I do, well, always, it's Wednesdays and Fridays. Actually, Cecily, we had to do we're going to have to do on a Monday because that's the night that SNL doesn't shoot. So they are all they are distancing but going in. By the way, I also had this one group that was so fun. I don't think I've ever watched a soap opera, but there is a world out there of soap opera fans, and we brought in. Oh goodness!
Was it Young and the Restless?
No, give me another name. It's the biggest one. Maybe it is Young. It is Young and the Restless. Yes, that's the number one. And so we had these folks come on, and they were talking about shooting the scenes, where you'll have dummies, or you'll have your SO come on and be shot from the back. So that's somebody that you can be close with, because there's a lot of, for those of you who may not know, there's a lot of kissing that goes on in these soap operas, and a lot of talk about a lot of other stuff. So anyway, it was really a hoot.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, shifting gears a little bit, as we say in Texas, Walt Wines was actually not your first rodeo in the wine forum, was it?
No, it really wasn't. I started off, I always knew that I would come back to the wine business. My father was a grower. He grew grapes for other wineries. He never actually wanted to make the wine. His love was agriculture, and that touched me deeply. I think to this day we are more oriented towards vineyards and the viticulture side of winemaking than most, and part of that is I have such profound respect for the land. And my dad used to say, you never really own a property, you just are a caretaker for as long as you're lucky enough to be in control. And so your job is to keep it and take care of it until the next lucky person gets to do the same. And that has been really an inspiration for us. We farm organically in some, and sustainably in all of our vineyards. And the other vineyards that I partner with for all three of our brands are all sustainable farmers. I think that, I think it's the right thing to do to not use chemicals, but I actually think it makes better wine, and not because it's without chemicals, but better wine because if you don't have the crutch of pesticides, if you don't have other sort of other things that you can rely on rather than your own sense of sight and smell and touch, you have to be in the vineyards more. And there is really no substitute for walking the vines, knowing the grapes. I mean, I run through this. We have one vineyard called the Sacachet Vineyard where I live in Napa, and my jog every day is through the vines. I mean, I feel like I know every vine and how they're growing, and I think that's a really important part of our business. So yes, I am not new. I did, as John said earlier, I did practice law, but honestly, that was a means to really ultimately get to do what makes my heart sing, which is just what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm. And so, how did the Hall wine opportunity first present itself?
Well, I started making wine. The first wines I made, and I'm not a trained winemaker. I have just sort of lived around it a long time, and I have winemakers who work for me. And that before that I partnered with. So back in the 1970s, actually, I made a little wine. Okay. And that was sort of custom crushed. And in those days, my last name was not Hall. It was Kathryn Kane. It was Kane. Walt is my maiden name, and that's one of our brands. But anyway, the Hall came to be when my husband agreed to sort of partner with me in the business. I mean, I was going to go into the business, and Craig, who is not, those of you who live in Dallas, I may know my husband. He's Craig Hall. He's in real estate there, and Craig is a Detroit boy who, when I met him, literally thought a rosé was a white and a red mixed, and and I thought at the beginning there was really no hope for the relationship, because if you don't love wine, I'm just not your gal. But anyway, he grew to really enjoy wine and appreciate it, and I actually think to this day he's got a much better nose than I do. He's just it's sort of innate for him to be able to pick on up nuances in aromas on a wine. And so we sort of set out together. I mean, his business always is basically Hall Group, and that is real estate oriented in some way and based in Dallas. But we, in 95, we bought our first vineyard, and in Napa, and then that was just really then off to the party. I mean, I think that wine just gets in your blood, and for those of you who are new to wine drinking, I'm so happy for you. And those of you who've been doing it for a while, well, cheers to that, because as you all know, it just gets more and more fun as the years go by. There's always more to learn. There's always refinements that you can develop in your own sense of appreciation of wines. And so I think you will, if you've got the bug now, it's not going to go away, and it certainly didn't go away with my husband. So we started with Hall. We named it. Actually, we originally called the business was just Kathryn Hall, and we had a little winery that's up near my house in Rutherford, and it's still a little winery that those of you who visit Napa, we are not open to the public, but you can make appointments to come visit us and do a tasting in advance. And that's at the facility that was actually originally called Kathryn Hall. And then we started expanding, and we bought a larger facility in St. Helena, which is really a beautiful, absolutely state-of-the-art facility. The first Gold LEED certified winery in California, which is LEED is an environmentally responsible standard that we hope that everybody starts to adhere to. But anyway, we did this, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, we started thinking, or I guess it was really more, I started thinking with our winemakers that it would be really fun to move into the world of Pinot Noir. So that's when we moved and started our second brand, which is Walt, and which is my maiden name is Walt. And so started making this Zinfandel, Pinot Noir, and we make a Chardonnay and a Pinot. We'll have some of those a little later. And then 3 years ago, I think it was, I just had this sort of yearning. This is what happens when you get the bug, and you just, it's, making wine is an art, and it's just, for those of you who also play with art, it's always just fascinating. You just sort of want to create and to use different tools to do it with. And in my case, it's using different varietals to make wine with. And because each varietal has its own very special properties and challenges that are sort of scientific in some ways, but they're also very artful in others. And so we started a third brand called Baca. I didn't have any more names left, so we created a new one. Baca means grape or berry in Latin, and so this is actually sort of an experimental. The core is Zinfandel, but we're making some really fun, sort of playful wines. We just we made a beautiful Rougon Marsanne John, which I think you'll appreciate.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. Yeah, just a beautiful little white wine under the Baca label, and so we're playing around with some. We made a Carignan, which is an old time farmer red fruit up in the Northern California wine country. And so anyway, that's another brand run, by the way, by my daughter, also a recovered lawyer. So yeah. Anyway, we're having a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. And Zinfandel is actually one of the most American varietals there is, because a lot of the other varietals were imported from overseas. The Zinfandel is actually very, very rooted to California, and so some very, very high quality Zinfandels being made in California, and really historic vineyards with old vines that are being preserved, and lots of Zinfandel being made in California now.
Right, we are, and actually, I'll tell you, this is part of what I like about our label. If you can, this is on our rosé can, and it's thank you very much. Yeah, see, it's Baca and it's BACA, but I like it that we have the CA at the bottom. I think it gives us a way to sort of visually highlight that it's a California. I mean, this is the quintessential California grape. It's the first grape my dad ever planted. I mean, it's the old time sort of grape, and so I feel like I'm dealing with the heritage of California when we are making Zinfandels from the grapes. And as John, as you say, this some of the heritage vines that we work with are like 100 years old, which is just it's not such a big deal perhaps in the old world, but for us in California, that's a very big deal.
It is, because flocks are wiped out, most of the NAPA vineyards in the 80s, and so a lot of us were replanted. They're not that old. So
exactly.
And for those of you in Texas and elsewhere, if you're barbecue fans, Zinfandel is probably the best pairing for barbecue. So I highly recommend.
I totally agree with that. I say that all the time. I love hearing you say that too. It's just, I mean, because it's got so much fruit. It's a big one. You know, the thing about a Zinfandel just in general is that it's got a lot. It's got a lot of appeal just innately because it's got this so much fruit that it has a sort of you can sort of rely on it. There was a style of Zinfandel that was made for many, many years. It's actually the style of Zinfandel that my dad used to like. It was just, to my way of thinking, just totally tired. It didn't have vibrancy. It didn't have nuance. I mean, it had a lot of alcohol and it had a lot of big fruit in it. But anyway, that's not the kind of Zinfandel that I want to make. Yeah.
Yeah, well, should we get started with the tastings then? Would you like to introduce that? And the only thing I'll say to preface it is that for those who don't know, certainly both rosé has had a huge resurgence and it's trending, and then also canned wine, which may come as a surprise to some, is actually very, very popular as well. So you're kind of riding two trends with this product.
Yeah. This is totally my daughter's thing. I was a little bit concerned about putting something in a can because I'm worried about quality control. So we did some experimenting, of course, and it is not a concern to us. I mean, the technology is now at the point where you can, I think, you can certainly have a rosé or a white wine that you will drink in a short period soon. I think adapt very well to a can, and they're kind of fun. I mean, you can you take it to the beach, you can take it hiking, you can I just think it's it's nice and it's fun. So we call this Ring Around the Rosé. So all of the Baca names are games. Part of what we want to say is we take our winemaking seriously, and we really do, but we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. And so we thought if we could name these after games, it sort of was added a little levity to the group. So I think they were very cute to call this Ring Around the Rosé. It was not my idea, I have to say, but I'm glad for it. So should we talk about this rosé a bit, John, or what do you want?
But it's a dry rosé.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. So yeah, I know you've got some. But well, we're going to go through 6 wines, and so if anybody is going to go through all 6, I would just like to know who you are with me. But anyway, we'll do it. We'll go through these more rapidly because we can have a conversation with John about them. But anyway, this rosé is it comes from a vineyard that we have that is organically farmed. It's it is done by the saignée method. We sort of we take when the grapes first come, we let the juice stays on the skins. By the way, skin, the color in a wine always comes from the skin. It is, if you have nothing else to do and you want to peel a grape, you will see that the meat of a grape is white. But the tannins and the flavors and the color come from, well, they come from the skin, and in part part of that comes from the seed as well, but not from the meat and the juice itself. So that we let this stay for a very short time in contact with the skins, and then we bring it off. And I am actually, when you drink this in a can, you can't really. You're not going to see the color, but it has sort of a watermelon type flavors. It's very light. It's very vibrant. It's got a lot of minerality to it. And the idea here is this is not a serious wine. This is a wine to have fun with, to take to the beach. You are not going to sit down and have a serious wine tasting with John about this wine, but you are going to enjoy it and have fun. And I think that's worth a whole lot too. So that's my talk about this little rosé. So,
excellent. No, it's a rosé. It's not.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. When I talk about sweetness on a wine, in my wines, it's always the sweetness is this illusion of sweetness that comes from the fruitiness that's in the grape. None of my wines have any sugar, residual sugar, and they are always dry. That's a very important point of pride for high quality winemakers, as John knows. So, yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah. And should we move on now to the Walt Chardonnay?
Yes.
This is 2018, and it's Sonoma Coast.
It is, right?
Reverse. With the mirror here.
Yeah, you got it. I love that. Yeah. I've got one right here too. I've got it.
This one is beautifully, by the way. I can tell there's not so much new oak. It seems like it's more neutral.
Yeah, it sees some oak, but we are using, actually, this is part of this. I was talking about the art of winemaking. We are using less and less oak, actually, and particularly in our white wines. Just so it does have some oak in it. Let me see. Oh yeah, I get a little bit of nuttiness and little.
It seems like it's maybe at least some of the oak is neutral, and it's not.
It is, but we keep it on. And let me actually look. I had that written down here. You'd be surprised. There is so much. This is actually, I had forgotten this because it changes year to year on these wines. And actually, this is only seen. This was actually in barrel 15 months. But as you say, some of the oak is either new. It's actually not that neutral, but was in some of the barrels. Some of the lots were just in barrel just a really short time because we only keep our barrels for 2 years, and then we sell them to other wineries, actually. So
okay.
But something that we have started to do, but not yet on this wine, is we are we're fermenting we ferment one of our wines in a stainless steel, but not the Chardonnay yet. But we're fermenting in cement right now, which has been, we sort of are liking that. We're just sort of playing around with it a bit, but it does give us this sort of neutral quality. And now that I'm saying that, I'll bet you we did a little bit of cement fermentation in this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very elegant. It's not, and I know some people don't like the super oaky, buttery type Chardonnay, but this is not like that at all. It's very, very elegant. And it's more like a Burgundian style, I would say.
Thank you. Yes. I'm in that category that doesn't like buttery, this sort of malolactic, the secondary fermentation that is part of the winemaking process that imparts just so much butter. In fact, there is a wine out there called Butter that is very popular. I mean, some people really like it. But anyway, that's not, I think that oak, like anything, when you're making wine, I think if you start with great grapes, which is the sine qua non in winemaking, then your job really is to show restraint. I think is not to put too much oak, not to sort of have too much extraction on a red wine. I think you want to let a wine sort of be what it wants to be. I think every wine has its own essence, and there's certain characteristics that persist year after year, vintage after vintage. But at the same time, I think that wines will change. Each year will be a little bit nuanced, So, but anyway, so you're right. I agree with you. And I actually want to say this to everybody who's watching. There is no right way or no right way to describe any wine. I spend so much of my life selling wine to people who live in this world, and I have been in groups of 8 people, and with 8 different opinions. Some people are getting violet, and some people are getting chocolate, and some people are getting neither. And it really, at the end of the day, it comes down to what's delicious, what makes your heart sing when you drink it, but also. I think a lot of the way that wines are described are great prompts, because it's just like a child. A child thinks in vocabulary. So a concept sort of exists because there's vocabulary to allow it to express itself. And likewise in a wine, if you have some vocabulary that is sort of fed to you or suggested to you by people like John, then that's really helpful, because it gives you something that then you can use to formulate, and you can say, yes, I get lemon curd, which, by the way, I'm getting on this wine right now. Yes, I get lemon curd, or no, I don't. But anyway, it's just, these are prompts to help you identify flavors or aromas, on your own. So there is no right or wrong way, which is a very long way of saying, coming back to whatever you just said, John, a minute ago.
The good wine is the wine you like. So whatever you like is great. And once you find a wine that you like, I would encourage you to remember it. And then when you're at a restaurant, for example, you can tell the sommelier which wine you would normally drink, and then they can try to match that up, and they'll understand your preferences based on that representative bottle.
Absolutely. And be sure and stretch yourself too. You don't want to always go with the same wine. It's really fun, unless they're one of mine, and then you want to just stick to it. But I actually think, I drink my friends. One of the rules I have at home, so I drink my wines a lot for work, but I drink other people's wine. I enjoy seeing what they're doing. I learn from that. And I also have a rule that I only drink wine made by people I like, just because, I like to do business with people that that I enjoy.
Life's
But
too short to,
so what?
life's too
Yeah.
short.
It is. I totally agree. And by the way, I was just going to say, and then when you are, this is a great way to help you remember wine. I mean, there are apps out there that you can do it with, but just taking a quick picture if you're in a restaurant or you're trying a wine, I think that it helps you remember something later.
Oh, it does. No, I'm constantly taking pictures of labels, and yeah, it's very, very helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we've actually got about 8 minutes left, so I don't know.
Oh my goodness, we need to go through some wines. Okay,
Yes.
okay, let's go. Well, I'll follow your lead. You go on.
Why don't we go to the Kathryn Hall NAPA
Okay.
cab?
The Kathryn Hall cab.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, let's start off by saying that this has a very good name. We like this name. So this wine, this is a Cabernet that comes off of really principally from my backyard. This is the core of this fruit every year is from this wonderful vineyard called Sacrochet. That's 750 feet elevation. It's in the Rutherford district, although I don't find this to have really Rutherford, what we typically think of as Rutherford appellation qualities. Not so dusty, but it has an earthiness always about it. The wine every year, and this wine just got, well, we get lots of great awards on this wine, and I think the Wine Spectator is doing a little story about it coming up, so stay tuned. We're very excited about it. But anyway, I think what I enjoy about this wine most is its opulence, its lushness. That's the style that we want from this wine. There's a lot of tannin that comes off of this vineyard for whatever reason. I mean, it's a very limiting soil. The berries are very small, and those tend to create wines that are very tannic. But the Kathryn Hall always has this just beautiful silkiness about it. Just and really, I'd like to say it's all about us as winemakers, but really, it's really more about us as farmers. And because this wine almost makes itself, it's year after year. It's been a beautiful wine, and I am very lucky to be the custodian of this vineyard for as long as I get to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, lots of black fruit, like black currant, black plum, black cherry. Then there's some mocha and some chocolate. As well.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really beautiful wine.
Thank you. Oh, I'm really getting the chocolate. Yeah, it's sort of, and more at the back of the mouth.
Yeah.
Very fruity at the entry, and that's a really fun thing when you are sitting around. These are great things that you can do when you're sitting at home or when you're just for fun. I mean, wine can be enjoyed in so many different dimensions, in so many different ways. And so if you just, it's like a great opera or a wonderful piece of music. It's just, if you give it some attention, it pays you back so manyfold. And so being able to just think about when you enjoy a wine, how it is at the nose, how it is when you sip it, how it is the front of your mouth, the middle of your mouth, and the finish at the end. I mean, it will reward you. I highly recommend this, especially with my wines, but honestly, with all wine. Give yourself that luxury.
As well, if you visit the property and see where it's grown, then it all even makes more sense as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It ties together, and you really understand it much better.
It does.
Well, I think we have about 4 minutes left. Should we talk about, we have wine tourism and then perhaps the club opportunities as well? So I'll defer to you for what you'd like to talk about now.
Okay, I didn't hear, so club opportunities, and you said one other thing.
The tourism opportunities.
Okay, let me go, I can go fast. I can tell you both. So if you come to the wine country, there are many opportunities in terms of visiting us or other wineries. Just come on our website, you make a reservation, because we always have to, this was not our practice pre-COVID, but now because we need to distance and make sure that everybody is healthy, we have some precautions when you come on property. Once you get to your table, you'll have a great time. But anyway, we will let us give us advance notice. But we also have now more virtual opportunities. So we do wine tastings. I have senior wine educators who will curate wine a collection for you. You can have folks at a party, and you can do a Zoom. So we call these bespoke tastings. So there's a lot of things, and you can certainly join us on our social, and we do a lot like that. And I do once in a while I'll do some tastings like this as well, which I am having so much fun. John, thank you so much for inviting me.
You could do this for another hour, easy.
Yeah, I could. So anyway, yeah. So in terms of and then we have club. I think you have we really
have the graphic we can show.
I think while the graphic is coming up, I hope there is there. So we have we also have a wine club where we can ship our wines. You can buy wines from us directly anyway, but we can. This is not the graphic I don't think we want here.
Yeah, these are the pictures. We're looking for the last item that I sent.
Yeah, but I'll talk to you about them as we're sort of going forward. But anyway, this is yeah. There we go. So there's those are our three brands. So we had we had the Kathryn Hall, which is one of our Hall wines, and then we have the Walt. Which is that's our Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and on the far side, on my right anyway, as I'm looking at the screen, you'll see the Baca, which is our Zinfandel brand, and so which was also the rosé that we had that we started off the conversation with. So if you are interested in being a member of any of our clubs in the Baca, they call it the list. If you want to join, you can get information online, and we would love to have you be a part of it. And then part of what you get is access to wines that other people don't have access to, and also then you're part of our family. So that's fun too. And eventually we're going to be able to start having parties again. I'm expecting it maybe towards the middle anyway of 2021. We'll be able to start welcoming larger groups out to NAPA. So.
And also, you've graciously extended the discount for the wines that we've been tasting today through the end of the month. And so certainly people can continue to use the global law code and place their orders through October 31 and be the 15% discount on that.
Yes. We did, and thank you. I have to say, so John asked me if we would do this. We don't normally do this, but anyway, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad that this is available. So I hope if you all are interested that you take advantage of that offer.
Well, thank you so much for joining. That hour went very, very fast, but
My goodness, it did. We had so many more wines. I mean, you can. Enjoy wines, and those of you who have opened wines that we didn't have a chance to taste, I hope you just love it and let us know.
Well, thank you so much.
Cheers. Cheers to you, John. Cheers to everybody. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.